welcome back to Team R.I.C.O's Off the Record, where you get to know a little bit more about your next favorite band. This is our third episode and the final one of September. And today we actually have one of my favorite bands, has been for 12 years or so. If you don't mind introducing yourself.
Hey, yeah, my name's Brian Sendrowitz. I have a band called Beat Radio. We're from Long Island, New York, Belmore, New York.
And for those of you who've never heard Beat Radio, it's a nice like indie rock. You've got some banjo on the new album, a little folk inspiration. Is putting out a new album this month. We're going to get into that a little bit. First off, I just want to say thank you so much for coming through. Coming all the way down from New York to meet with us. This is means a lot to everybody here. So, John, thank you for making it.
Thanks. Pleasure to be here. Grateful to be invited, so appreciate it.
So we're going to start a little bit, we're going to go from the beginning and then just kind of work our way up to where we're at now.
Yep.
So, 2005, Beat Radio, before that, was that a thing? Or did Beat Radio begin in 2005?
Yeah, that was pretty much, I look at 2005 as the start of this band. I actually had a band that that was called Beat Radio even before that. Okay. I guess we started like the end of 2001 till about 2003. Okay. With some friends of mine who ended up starting their own band called The Digs, who were like one of my favorite bands. But
let's check them out.
So, but then I put a solo record out, and then 2005 I wrote a lot of the songs from the first Beat Radio record, and it felt like a different thing, but I was like, all right, well, no one's using the name, so
might as well use it.
I wanted to keep it going, but yeah, so I kind of look at the beginning of this project being that point in 2005.
Where did the name Beat Radio come from? Was that
for me, like I was always a big fan of like the Beat Generation writers. So in college, I wrote like a thesis about like Jack Kerouac, and
oh wow.
So I was trying to. I think my original idea with that first kind of version of the band was try to like fuse that sort of like lyrical sensibility with a kind of like rock pop. Like at the time we were super, I before that I had played a lot of like more like folky like singer-songwriter type stuff, and then Beat Radio was like we were like inspired by like what was going on in New York at the time, like the Strokes and Interpol and Yeah Yeahs and all those bands, and so I was trying to kind of fuse that with like that sensibility of like the sort of the stuff that the literature that I was inspired by.
Okay.
So that was the tie-in with the word beat was referring to them.
You mentioned what literature inspires you?
I mean, that was like it was Jack Kerouac, it was Allen Ginsberg, and then like a lot of the music that was inspired by that. Like I feel like Bob Dylan kind of came out of that, and Patti Smith. I was really into Patti Smith.
Very like poetic style, very
like trying to do something with words that was a little bit more complicated, or just I mean, like for me, lyrics were like I feel like I got into music because I was like obsessed with more with like poetry and stuff, and music was like a vehicle for that. Do
the lyrics usually come first for you when you write?
A lot of the time, I mean, or they sort of come separate, and then like it's like putting them together. So,
okay, it's like musical Legos. That's what it all is. It's
just kind of, yeah. Legos. Like it's very easy to just sit and like make a track musically, but then, but a lot of the times it has to be something that I just like wrote in a journal that like is the spark of what becomes the lyrics, and I tend to obsess over, almost like sometimes probably too much over like the lyrics. I'll write like a lot of verses before I finally like settle on.
It's hard being a perfectionist in that kind of way, especially with words, because there's so many words to use. It's always like, damn, there's probably one better word I could use or something. But
yeah, it's that part's harder. That takes more time for me. And it's funny. I don't feel like I'm a perfectionist in anything else, but with that, like I feel like to be able to sing the songs and like perform them convincingly, I just have to feel good about like what I'm saying. Like I feel like, a lot of music like lyrics don't matter, and I love nowadays, a lot of music. Yeah. But I feel like if you're gonna use words, like then choose the best ones you can.
Yeah, exactly. Make it mean something. That's a great part. Is I can listen to a Beat Radio song and pull up the lyrics and be like, and actually follow along. It's like a cohesive like thought and like story.
So thanks. Yeah. No, I hope that. I hope. I mean, it's when people like comment on like on lyrics and stuff, like it makes you feel like, all right, it was worth that I actually that I didn't just like say whatever, the first thing that came to mind. Although like sometimes it's like a balance, because sometimes like the spontaneity
it just comes
is
like
the
that.
best. Those are the best. Sometimes those are the best songs. But
are there any songs that off any of your records that were written that way, if you don't mind elaborating, if you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of like the first songs, like I think of a song like Fearful from the first album that was like kind of just came together in a couple minutes. Like it just sort of like felt like, it's funny. People talk about like when they're like channeling something in songwriting, and like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know what I believe about that in terms of like, the more like big picture spiritual stuff. But no, but sometimes you just like, you're just get yourself in a place where you're ready for like something to just kind of come to you. And, so that song was like that. I think, Mexico, we were talking, I think I'll be playing that today. And Mexico. That was similar, kind of just like, sometimes when they come really easy, those are like, and a lot of times it happens if I'll obsess over a song for like months, and then I'll have like a piece that didn't fit, and then it'll just be another song is just like ready to go. It's like right there. So I think it's like getting your mind like tuned into, or like almost like turning your mind off enough for the words to come. Is like a way that it's easier that way when you're not kind of overthinking it. So kind of contradictory.
No,
two things can be true at once, I guess.
Well,
but,
absolutely, absolutely. Let's see, this is my first interview, so we're just getting off the top of the head.
Sorry, I drink too much coffee too, so I go on a lot of tangents.
I was like, can somebody pass me my coffee? I don't know where that is.
So I answered like every other question in the first question.
No, we're totally fine.
That's funny.
The first few albums, what's your favorite song off of, was it the Great Big Sea? Is that your first full length?
Yeah, that's the first full length.
What's one of your personal favorites off of that album?
In terms of, I don't know. It's hard to say what my favorite is. I really love
it's like your favorite child,
Yeah, A Million Miles is like really special to me. Treetops was like the song that really helped us like start to build our audience. When it came out, it was like 2005, 2006. It was like New York City like music blogs were like it was sort of like the Wild West. So like we put that song out, and then like randomly we started getting like emails from like record labels and stuff.
Wow.
So that one is I love that one because it was the most like, I was always trying to write pop songs, but my songs always come out as like weird beat radio songs. Yeah. But that one was like, it connected.
Like a pop track.
Yeah, it connected with people in that kind of way. And Sleepwalking was like that too on the second record, but
we'll get to that.
Yeah,
there's a big story with that. So this is actually probably a good segue. So was it 2012 that video came out? Like 20?
Let's see. That album was 2000. It was probably like 2011 or 2010, maybe even. I think that album came out in 2009.
Okay.
So you're mentioning some buds of mine. Had the DrCoolSex.
12 years ago, posted on the channel DrCoolSex, who you might know for the Mario Kart live action movie parody, the Hey Arnold parody, and where I actually found Beat Radio, the Doug the movie parody. How did you get? They're from New York as well, right?
Yeah, they were like New York guys. This guy, one of the DrCoolSex guys, is my friend Dustin, and he was like one of the first like really like. He had a blog when our first record came out. Actually, like when our first even our first EP and demos, and he was just a fan, and he was probably in college at the time, and he had a blog and lived in New York, and so he would be writing about each song as we came out, and I had developed like a correspondence with him, and I knew he was involved with comedy. I think they were like maybe at the Upright Citizens Brigade, but they him and a couple of his friends were working on like just developing like trying to catch like that first wave of like YouTube viral content,
and really did that video. I mean, there's still comments on that video and the corresponding song Sleepwalking today, where it's just like, I remember this video from growing up, and I like keep coming back to this song. It's so amazing.
Well, they were really great. Like you mentioned the Mario thing. I think they found that like tapping into like a nostalgia, and so they did like a live action version of like the Nickelodeon cartoon Doug, And it honestly, I think their idea was like sort of like that movie Garden State, like make it into
Yep.
like an indie, like sort of like
Coming
the
of age
cliche
film.
of the indie film, and they had asked me to compose like some instrumentals for it. So I've like listened to like the actual tracks from like the Doug cartoon and tried to create like indie versions of a couple of like the themes.
I know, yeah, the main thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You did that one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I did that. I did like Patty. I think it was Patty's theme. I think I have them on my Bandcamp still. But so I knew that I was doing that for them, and I was happy to do it because like it was friends of mine. And
You did the Doug video. I mean the Hey Arnold video.
That
right?
one too. Yeah, that was like this. Yeah, we did that later. But I was surprised when they finished the Doug. When they actually also took some of our like they used
Exit
Sleepwalking.
Strategy and
That too. Yeah, like that was just an instrumental from that record, and
that's such a good track.
I think it was like a really stroke of brilliance the way that they. It's just like almost like their music supervision on how they did it.
It all flowed like it really feels like it could be a real movie. Like
it was wild. Yeah,
the music really fit along really well with it.
Yeah, I think that's probably still. I mean, we had like that first like with Treetops and things like where we got a lot of, got a lot of fans, but that was the biggest thing ever because I think it's like 3 million views.
I think it's at 3 million views now. Is Sleepwalking at 3 million? Like the actual
that's definitely less, but like we got a lot
video.
of like we ended up like selling a lot of music on just Bandcamp and stuff like because it was like right and that was early for Bandcamp too, but it was.
Did that help you get any sort of like long-term exposure, or was it more of just
I think so. It's just that like now whenever we put out a song, like we have a lot more followers in general that are gonna find even on like Facebook and stuff. So that was good, and then from there like I guess we also like were able to like license a few songs after like a couple years after that, and I think it was all part of that activity because the second album was like, I mean, there's a whole like story I can get into, but like the second album I really just started making on my own because the band had kind of like the original lineup had broken up, and I was just like in my basement, and like the Sleepwalking and the kick drum was like a sample of like fireworks going off.
Really?
Like I didn't have a drummer. I was like, I'm gonna just figure it out because I had all the songs
super
written.
Boomy sound. It's so good. I was wondering.
It was fun. Like I was more into like I was
experimenting with.
Yeah, there was like a lot more synths and like
a lot more
drum machines and stuff.
I mean, there's always been a great level. I mean, maybe I'd say experimentation. I mean, in some of like the early lives on the rooftop, I don't know exactly where that was. There's so many crazy instruments in there.
Oh,
so
yeah.
much that's the OG band. Would that be?
No, that was like the second. So after the second album came out and like Sleepwalking was like picking up, and the song Memoir of a Lightning Bolt, that was the one that was on like this MTV show.
Oh, really? That was on an MTV show.
Yeah, it was like a.
I was like in between when they like just put the thing on there. I think I saw that at one point.
We had a bunch on like some of their like really kind of like crappy reality shows, but that was
that's something.
Yeah,
that's something.
that one was on this show. It was called like I Just Want My Pants Back, which is, I think it was like one season. It was. I won't comment on the show.
Trying to do something.
Yeah, but from there, like we were starting to pick up some momentum. So the rooftop thing was just another, actually completely different lineup than the first. Wow. Not true. Actually, the original bass player was in that lineup too. But yeah, like I said, like I mean, the bands were. It was always just like whatever buds were around into playing out live.
It's hard to get like a solid band for like over like a couple of years. Life just
people's
happens.
Life changes. Yeah,
Exactly.
and I had kids before I even started the band, so it was like and a lot of my the friends that were involved, like some of them would or would not, but like so yeah, sometimes it's a limited amount of time that people can devote, and but it's all good. Everyone I'm still like
out of love
close with
for it.
everyone, and the newest record, which I guess we could talk about, is like sort of a reunion with this guy Phil Jimenez, who had produced the first album and like a couple EPs after that, so it was great. Like in like the quarantine, like we started like going back and forth with tracks, and he ended up, so I this new record I kind of just like made really rough drafts of all the songs. Like I would do guitar and vocals with like a drum machine and then send it to him, and he would like flesh out the arrangement kind of so it was like super fun, just like being surprised every time with like what comes back,
Exactly. I mean that's the best part of that collaboration is just getting something that you would have never thought of, or like it's just great to have another head to bounce off. My team out here, shout out to Team R.I.C.O for being my heads to bounce off on.
yeah
that's God, I can't wait for this album to come out for you guys to hear it. I've been privileged enough to hear it, and it's really fantastic. I have a couple tracks of mine that I really like. Disassociation Blues. Y'all gotta check that out. Sorry if I'm not allowed to.
No, absolutely. That's gonna. That one's coming out on this coming Thursday. We're gonna release that as the next single. So.
Oh man, that's
psyched. So I guess by the time this airs, I guess it'll probably be
wonderful
in the world. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, such a great song. It's such a fantastic album, and it feels. You mentioned that you would reconnect with somebody from the earlier albums. It feels a lot more of like a return to form Beat Radio album.
I mean, Phil is a great instrumentalist. He's a great songwriter in his own right, but he's also a great producer. This is kind of like a random note, but he produced Teenage Dirtbag.
Really?
By Wheatus, if you know that song. So he like knows how to produce a great pop song, and now they're having like this whole viral moment recently.
Yeah,
from the
we're gonna clip this and we're gonna get a whole bunch of views, guys. Thank you, Brian.
So no, it's kind of funny. Like thinking about like the Beat Radio classic lineup, we share 2 classic lineup members with Wheatus because my bass player Mike was in Wheatus for their first tour, and Phil produced the first record and toured with them, and that they were like
Beat
that was like
Radio
multi-platinum. It's kind of funny, like if you think of our 2 bands, we're pretty different, but
completely different.
But
that's insane.
Yeah, I've developed a big appreciation for it. I mean, I appreciate when somebody could write like a perfect pop song. Like
there's such a science and craft that goes behind it. Like sure, sometimes pop isn't always like the easiest thing to digest. Is like maybe as a musician, somebody that really enjoys like getting into the finer things. But like, there's something about writing a pop song that just gets in everybody's head. That's really admirable.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, this whole viral thing for them has been. I think they're at like 1 billion streams now.
Yeah, it's
from the TikTok thing
or something.
Yeah.
TikTok's a weird beast, man.
It's wild.
It's such a weird beast. Do you utilize TikTok at all for Beat Radio?
I started using it. I feel like I'm very bad at it. Like we are too. I feel like I just cannot get into. I don't know.
You gotta put so much into it. Like, I don't like being on TikTok. I'm not a fan.
I feel like everyone who's on it is like self-conscious of how the algorithm works, and like I don't want to hear about that. Like I'll put like I'll just like play songs and put them on there.
Yeah.
And if people find them there, that's great. But I've been a little bit less. Yeah, I put less into that than I like Instagram. I'll try to share everything that I do.
Oh yeah, Instagram is just it's a great diary for people to get to know the.
It's easy. Yeah, it's a little bit easier, and Reels is basically like TikTok now, I guess. Too,
exactly. Yeah, Reels. I feel like honestly might be more. We use Reels a good bit, and Reels has been way more substantial for us than any TikTok that we've ever put out. So.
Yeah, so it's daunting to like try to start another one at this point. Like I have Twitter.
Then there's YouTube Shorts, which I don't even fucking know how to use YouTube. That really intimidates me.
Yeah, it's wild, but I'm happy for those guys. It's definitely been like a whole other. I mean, they've been touring. Wheatus has been able to tour this whole time.
Yeah,
and but this is definitely
kind of getting that second win because before this I haven't heard that song in like. God, 5 years, and then all of a sudden it's everywhere, and I'm like, what's happening?
I saw like earlier today they posted like the Pixies did like the Teenage Dirtbag challenge, and like Madonna did it, and like it's crazy. It's totally.
I mean, good for them, man. Yeah. Good for them.
They're all great. They're good guys. I know Brendan a little bit, but Phil's one of my best friends, and so for him it's been cool to
see that success for them.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah. It's always good to see your friends succeed, especially doing something that they actually really enjoy doing.
For sure. Yeah, it's good stuff.
So it's crazy, listening back to like the 5-track and then me getting to listen to the new album. It's, it still sounds, every single album, every single track just still sounds Beat Radio.
Thanks.
It's all very consistent. Like it's never, styles change and, obviously influences get worn on different sleeves and, but ultimately you listen to it and it's like, oh, this is a fucking Beat Radio song. How do you keep that consistency with your songwriting, man?
I don't know. I think it's just my limitations probably.
Limitations are just one of the most beautiful creative tools ever.
I think, I mean, I remember like to get like heady about it, like even like Jack White talking about like the reason why he kept the White Stripes to like a 2-person band was like because it forces you to be more creative. So for me, like it's fun to expand, like to play around with like different palettes and sonically all that stuff. But for me, like the chords are always pretty simple in my songs, and like
that's crazy what you can do with just 4 chords and just a couple layers. Like it's ridiculous.
I mean, that's most of the music I like. I mean, it is fairly simple. I grew up playing like punk rock, so like, and punk rock and then folk music. So
Yeah.
both of those things are like pretty straightforward and, so I guess it just, like I said, like I'm always trying to write like pretty like ambitious like pop anthems, but it always comes out like a weird beat radio song.
No, and that I mean, it just as long as it happens organically, that's really impressive. You mentioned that you like a lot of music you listen to is more like simple in the orchestration. Have you ever heard Current Joy's Voyager?
I've heard one or two songs. Is that the band that has that song like "Listening to the Cure"?
I don't know.
I might be mixing them up with somebody else.
I think
so. I guess
he has another band called Surf Curse.
Oh, so it is.
Yeah, it's the.
I don't know the
lead
album.
Singer. I think it's really beautiful arrangement. I think you'd really enjoy it.
I saw Surf Curse live last summer with Joyce Manor. They played at
seriously. Oh, that would have been it
was great. They were great. I was like, I didn't know them
Joyce
at the time. Joyce Manor, I think, is like
they're such an
incredible
fantastic punk band.
Talk about like and just like almost like power pop. Like
well, their new the
new one especially. But like there's like a Weezer kind of thing. So they were great. And Surf Curse was new to me at the time, and I was like, oh yeah, these guys are.
They got really big off like TikTok for freaks for the song.
That song, yeah. Oh, cool. No, I'll check out the other band though, because I know like one song of theirs, and that's. But it was sort of like
such a fan. We got to watch it live. We got to see him in Philly, and God, it was such a great show. It's such a fantastic album. It's just such simple arrangements, but it's all just stacked so beautifully.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, there's always interesting stuff to find.
Always a lot of interesting music. So, what's inspiring you now? With what inspired this new album? Because I've read the liner notes.
I know. I mean, this one was like. It's funny. I mean, I've been doing this since like 2000. Really, even before. And
I was 6 years old when he started this project. I was.
Oh my god! And I was playing. I mean, I was playing New York City in like 1998, like playing at like the living room. So I've been doing this forever.
How old are you?
I'm 44.
I'm 40. Couldn't tell.
So I've So like, and this is the first album in 6 years, like the first full length that we've done, and.
You put on what was it? Everybody I Know Is Just Holding On.
Oh, so that was more. That was in between.
Okay,
that was an EP.
Okay,
but so that was like that probably started as an album, and I just like life was
gets in the way.
Yeah, I have 5 kids at home, so
wow, 5.
So
a lot of mouths to feed.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's
Well, how is
it's involved? But
this is a tangent. How is it balancing like a musician and being a husband, a dad, being you have another job. You're an architect, if I'm not mistaken.
I do I do architectural sales, so I market like products to architects, and I mean as you like with careers, like as you kind of move along, like they get more involved, and so this was just like a gift that I was able to do it. Like I started, I don't think I'm always like writing, and I'm always like trying to. I feel like I'm always like, even for my own like mental health, like when I'm working on something creative, like I'm happier, so I started making the demos for this, like really like very the beginning of like COVID era. And at first I was going to just like record everything at home and have different friends come in. And there was even a couple early versions of some of the songs where just like a bunch of other collaborators where I was just sending tracks back and forth via like Google Docs and stuff.
The COVID special.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people did that. But then the first song that Phil did, and his wife Catherine, who actually was...
Is she the vocal? Is she the
female
vocalist? Oh, it's such great harmonies.
She's so good. I feel like she's like the secret weapon behind all the new album, because like her harmonies like make choruses feel like choruses. And like she actually toured with Wheatus for a while too.
This is our like Wheatus special. This is our September Wheatus special.
But she's really really talented musician. They have a studio out in Huntington, Long Island, and so anyway, the first song that they sent back to me, I was like, oh man, I'm like, this is if we can make the album together, and then we just kept going like one track at a time, and eventually, we're like, okay, we're making this. This is going to be a full record, and it took like 2 years to make, but so that was really inspiring because it kind of like propelled it, like the songs, like there was initial stroke of inspiration where the songs kind of came from. And I wrote like 4 or 5 really fast, but once I started collaborating with them, it was like, that was its own motivation. And also like, Phil is somebody I really admire. So I was like trying to like, I want every song to be really great. Like, it kind of like made me try to like up my game.
Impressive, give him something to impressive to work on.
I mean, I always try as hard as I can, but like when you have somebody else who's going to invest the time like that, and like you really want it,
really is like, okay, I need to put more time into this. It's I want to make it worth their time as well.
Like honor their time. So, but like lyrically, this there was a lot of like hard kind of family things that I had gone through, and it's in like it's in our press release and stuff. But I had like the personal part is like I had a falling out with my parents, and just went through some really hard changes, and it was a lot about like grieving that and the impact of all that, on my own relationship, and kind of trying to work through things with my wife, and like really trying to like heal a lot of just sort of like, I use the term like intergenerational trauma, but it was really just kind of like learning about myself and like getting into therapy for the first time. And like,
that's wonderful. I'm really glad to hear that.
Thanks. And
seriously,
but it was nice to have music as a way to like explore that.
It's therapy
and, like,
at home, it's like your own personal meditation time.
It is. Yeah. It helped me kind of like figure out a lot of feelings about it. And so I had never written a record that was, that sort of, music has always been personal to me, and I tried to tell personal stories, but I think in the past it was more like an escape and like a dream, like a dream world.
But this is more of like a working it, like facing it. This is the reality, and this is me working through it through these songs and how I feel. Putting down to paper.
That's what that was my goal. I was like, at this point, I'm like, I have nothing to hold back.
No,
like,
absolutely.
I've been doing this long enough. Like, so I tried to really put everything into the songs, and not censor it, and be open about, my own kind of like learning about like, things about myself that I need to change and to do better. And, it was heavy. Like it's emotional for sure. But I guess, I feel lucky that I have music as a way to kind of channel that sort of stuff. And it was definitely like cathartic. So
is that what keeps you like making music? Is it just like that personal connection to it? Like, it just helps you a lot. And it's
absolutely. Like even like in between, like it's been a couple years since we put the record out, but like, the last full length, but like I produced a couple of friends' albums. Like I always try to keep like.
Oh, you produce as well?
A little bit.
Really?
Yeah. I produced this band called Mount Sharp and my friend Tim Lannon, from that band The Digs that I mentioned, and then another guy named Brian Kish, and that was just a way to like I think at that point in my life, this was like 4 or 5 years ago, where most of those projects were happening. It was like I had sometimes you write a bunch of songs and then like you say so much of what you want to say, and then it takes a while to like kind of like have the inspiration to like
but it's always good to keep your creative outlets open, because if you sit there, you're like, oh, I gotta just keep writing songs. It's the only thing like that I do creatively. It's easy to really burn yourself out and not enjoy doing it anymore. And being able to take time and work on other people's music and work on other projects, it really helped. And it also gives you a different perspective. You get to hear things and think about things differently. You're not making a beat radio song. You're helping make somebody else's song. So it's a different mindset, which is wonderful. Yeah,
it's rewarding in a different kind of way.
Rewarding, that's a good way to put it.
And sometimes I think anybody who like, especially like songwriting, like you get sick of yourself sometimes.
Oh, I know.
Need to like
I know.
Cleanse the palate. Yeah, or any kind of. I think any sort of like art, I guess, because I feel like as a writer, I'd probably feel the same way, or visual artist, but. So that was fun, but so
okay, so new album coming out next month. What do you see moving forward for Beat Radio? Are we getting some shows? Are we getting some more drops? What are we getting?
I think like it's been fun. I'm really trying to like just try to like we like really took our time with like how we're gonna roll it out, and getting to make like music videos and stuff is something I hadn't really done before. And we have a release show scheduled up by us in New York for November 4th. So
wonderful.
I'm figuring out what the lineup's going to look like. I'm hoping, I'm always up for playing solo, like wherever, and that sometimes easier because it's fitting like the rehearsal and all that stuff into my life can be challenging. But
getting 4 people, especially musicians.
Yeah. I mean, my dream would be to like have the classic lineup and go on tour and stuff, but like economically, it doesn't always it's not always feasible. But yeah, I'm excited about this release show. Starting to book a couple other shows, so I'm hoping to like pick it back up for at least for a little while.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just try to build.
Get back out there. People need to hear this album, man. This album it's ridiculous.
Thanks, man.
This album is so good.
I'm excited.
If you could convince somebody to listen to the album using 3 words, what would you use?
Oh, geez, 3 words.
You can 5. We can say 5, up to 5. We'll say up to 5. We'll give them a couple extra.
I don't know. Geez. I mean, Real Love is the name of the album.
It's probably not the best question.
Real Love is and it's fun like
the word cap doesn't matter. What would you tell people to?
Well, I feel like choosing that title, it was almost like I feel like it was almost like obnoxious because it's such a cliche. But I was like, you know what? Like I wanted to like be that ambitious. Like just go for like I don't even care if like the Beatles have a song called Real Love,
exactly,
or like Mary J. Blige. Like
no censoring.
We're adding
no censoring. No, put it out what makes you feel.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I'll just say this record. Like I put everything I could into it, and I feel like it's our best record. Yeah, I'm really proud of it, and I hope that it connects with people, and is able to find I'm trying to put as much of work as I can into just getting people to hear it, which is its own
they really
challenge.
need to. They need to. Such a fantastic album. I'm glad that everybody, if you check out our other video, which will be up before this one, you'll be able to hear some of the songs off the album and some older tracks for people that don't know much about Beat Radio. What time are we at? How are we doing on time, gentlemen?
We're about 30 minutes in. I just started the new
Okay,
shot.
I'll stop this part. Cool. Let's see. Okay, this is the part where I get to take a second to get my conditions together. Thank you. You're such a wonderful interviewee.
Thanks, man. Yeah, sorry. I ramble a lot.
No, and that's good. That's good.
Hopefully it works.
Great. This is coming out great.
Oh, cool.
So,
Good questions, too.
So before we end this off today, I just want to say again, thank you so much for coming out all the way from New York to come down to our humble Delco, humble Delaware County. It means a lot. If you can promote your stuff on here and just tell them where they can find your music.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, and thank you guys. It's definitely great to be here. Just to have people, helping share the music. And we're on YouTube. I think most of our username for most things is We Are Beat Radio. So that's Instagram, that's Twitter, and that's YouTube as well. And yeah, Beat Radio on Facebook and Bandcamp as well. We're
always gotta love Bandcamp.
Yeah, and we're streaming everywhere. But yeah, no, I hope you guys can check it out. And
Real Love coming out in October.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. You guys are gonna love this album. It's fantastic. Thank you so much, man. We're gonna go get to this performance. I'm too hyped to wait. So thank you, Enrico, Chris, and Nico, and thank you to all the bands that have come through this month, September, for Off the Record. It means a lot to all of us, and we're excited to see what October brings. So let's get it. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, guys. Yeah.
You're out of control, just fading away in a fight for your soul.